What's up, degenerates? Mad Merrigan here for Cold Bear Sports. Right, lads, as we look ahead to day 3 and day 4 of the York Ebor meeting, we have our good friend back again, Mickey D. How's things, Mickey? How are you feeling halfway through the grudge match?
Yeah, we're the bookies are winning the first 2 days, but I'm fairly confident that we might get it back over the next two. There was a lot of the good things turned over, and form didn't stack up, and just didn't happen. But as long as my mama said, there'd be days like this,
Yeah.
but not too many, thank God.
Yeah, no, I thought, look, we had a good day the first day with a couple of winners between us. I thought that wasn't a bad. I thought Mishreef was my strongest bet, so I was happy with that. And today I just had Bastange placed at 28-1, and apart from that, it was a nightmare. But anyway, we'll move on to tomorrow swiftly, and we kick it off with a handicap, a class 2, just shy of a mile and a half. Wink of an eye heads the betting here. David Egan for William Haggis on a bit of a roll. This horse, State of Bliss, second favourite, Nicola Curry, 72. It's a wide open affair. What are you thinking here, Mickey? Anything standing out to you?
Yeah, no favourite in the last 10 years, and that's no surprise. 8 out of the last 10 years has been won by a 4-year-old. No 3-year-old has won this since 2009. And the favourite, Wink of an Eye, is a 3-year-old. And it won its last 3, the first off 70. It now runs off 91. They're all over 10 furlongs. But as I say, water always finds its own level, so I'm going to skip that one. But there's an interesting horse here for me with good back form, and that's the Kevin Ryan trained Tyrone Hall. In August 2020, it was second by a neck to Illarab in Beverly, and that horse is now raised 111. Then it won first time out this year in Doncaster of 88. Then it was second to Golden Pass in Thirsk over 1 mile 4 of 97. Golden Pass is 14 pounds higher now. Then it was third again to Illarab in York, which is over the course and distance. And 2 good horses in behind it, Win O'Clock and Sam Cook. The last 2 runs were over 1 mile 6. It clearly didn't stay. It's back to 1 mile 4. Andranzini and Kevin Ryan. It's about a 14-1 shot, so I back to just at 16s. I think it's 14s now. Back to each way. So that's my selection at first.
Tyrone Hall, number 6. I like the horse here, trained by Eve Johnson Houghton. Now look, this fella's always promised to be a bit better than he does, but HMS President. But his last run, the last day, he stepped up to 1.5 miles. I really liked his run, and you go back to his previous run as well. That was a pretty solid run as well behind the Brian Meehan horse. He is a 4-year-old, so they thought a bit of him, because I remember he was fancied a few times. I think he went to Pontefract or somewhere. He was somewhere one time where he was really strongly fancied, but he disappointed. He was turned over. But he seems to have found his niche now. He's stepping up to 1.5 miles after his first go on Ascot was a really, really good run. So I'm going to give him a chance in a wide open race. William Buick on board, nicely weighted, 8 stone 13. Now, he'll have to improve because the handicappers nudged him up a couple of pounds for running so well. So it will be tough, but I'll give him a shout in a wide open race. Right. We move on then, Mickey D, to what is a clash of the giant. The giants or giant. We have a giant at the head of the market. Personally, I think hard enough to back him maybe after being beaten so clearly in the Gold Cup. But we have Stradivarius at the top of the market, 11-8. Spanish Mission. We have Trujan, who was so impressive in Goodwood the last day. Now, what worries me here, Mickey, and I'm going to turn it over to you, is the pace of this race. Where is it? What happens? This could be a very, very tricky Lonsdale Cup.
What worries me more so is the ground. I think Trushan needs a lot more cut on the ground. He's similar to Wonderful Tonight today. I think they're sort of the same profile. They need a lot of cut on the ground. And the speed figures are showing that it's good to fair him. there's 5 favourites in the last 10 years here, and Stradivarius, of course, was 2 of them. There's 4 to 9 and 4 to 11. He's raised 121. He's 4 for 4 in York, and he's getting £3 from Trushan. And if he's in a handicap, he'd be giving him £3. That's a £6 swing for him. Spanish Mission is raised at 117. It won a Group 2 in May in York over 1.5 miles. It was beaten Santiago and Sir John Priestley comfortably, and they are 2 fairly good yardsticks. It was 3rd in the Ascot Gold Cup to Subjectivist, and Stradivarius was 4th. It was pulled out of Goodwood due to the ground condition, and it's a fresh horse, is progressive, it likes the ground, and I think that's the horse for tomorrow.
Yeah, we're in agreement. But you know what? I really like him, Mickey. But the problem I have is he's a hold-up horse, and I worry this could be a really, really messy race. Now, I think if I was Holly Doyle, I would just let Truzan go to the front here, because he can be a little keen at times, and I think if she goes to the front, she could control the whole race. I know the other horse, the Grand Vizier, he might go forward. He's got nothing to lose. He's the outsider of the field. He was ridden handy before. He's been ridden everywhere before. But I thought maybe if they went very slow, it might make it harder for Spanish Mission. But he has everything else in his favour. When he ran in the Ascot Gold Cup, or in the Ascot Gold Cup, we had David Egan on the show, and he gave him a great mention. He said that he was a horse, and I remember watching him closely, and he travelled like a very, very classy horse throughout that race. And I think York will really suit him. So I'm going to stick with him, albeit I worry about the pace, and we could have a messy affair. But I think he's the horse, maybe under these conditions, fast ground, flat track, maybe he's the one to beat. Stradivarius, of course, is a brilliant horse. And if Johnny Gosden gets him back here, it'll be phenomenal again. But look, for me, it's Spanish Mission, so we'll move on. We're in agreement. And
Stradivarius, since they brought him back to 1.5 miles last year, they campaigned him for the Arc de Triomphe. And he just doesn't look the same horse this year. So I have a feeling that he might go out in front tomorrow.
Possible. Frankie will suit himself, and if he thinks that's the best place to be, I wouldn't be surprised. The only thing is, doesn't he always kind of look around in front, though? I always seen Frankie delaying his challenge on him. But look, sure, like Anton, he's getting so late in life, surely he knows the way around by now. Anyway, we'll move on to what is a really interesting race. I really like the favourite in the next race. It's a Group 2. And Lucille been really impressive. I think this horse is going to take a world of beating tomorrow. Now, I know Furby was impressive. It got turned over since. Berkshire Shadow, definitely a nice horse as well. But I just think maybe this is the bet of the day tomorrow. I might be wrong. Where do you stand here, Mickey? A very, very interesting race.
Yeah, I'll be in agreement, I think, with you. There's 3 favourites in the last 10 years, and those were in the last 5 years. The highest rated horse actually is Berkshire Shadow at 109 for Balding and Murphy. It won the Coventry and Good to Ferrum over 6, then to second in Goodwood, and I think it's more or less be better at 7 furlongs. Lucille is only raised a pound inferior at 108. It won the July Stakes, beating Asmetric, and then it was pulled out of that race that Berkshire Shadow won in Goodwood on account of the Vintage Stakes, on account of the ground. I think that's a better horse than Berkshire Shadow. Fearby was second in the Molecombe. It is raised to 103. It's more a 6 furlong horse, I think, definitely. Callahanson's over Twilight Jet from Ireland to 6 to Go Bears Go in the Curragh, but I just don't think it's up to the class of Lucille. The only thing is, all the fancied 2-year-olds and that was turned over this week. I think this might be the one to get us back on track.
Yeah, I really like him. Look, his form, you just go to his form the last day. He beat a horse that we know well because we had Martin Harley on, and he tipped him up, and he came out. He was just bet in Newmarket by Lucille, but then he's come out and he was a really good winner in Goodwood. You had Ebor River back in 4th. We all know what he did in the Curragh. The form stacks up, he really does. But I'm going to give a little mention to just a horse maybe for a straight place bet as well. Twilight Jet. I know he mightn't have the class of the other two, but he's going to run much better than he's ever run. I do believe that. I heard Michael O'Callaghan talking about this horse, and when he ran at the Curragh the last day, he was kind of well off the rail. He was out in the kind of, I think he was 3 or 4 off the rail, if my memory serves me correct. He was trying to come up the wing. And I just think this horse will outrun his odds, but I think the favourite is the one, and I think he will win. So we'll move on swiftly, and we'll go to what is a very, very good race for the sprinters. Mickey D, who is going to take down the Nunthorpe? We have the Yanks, we have the French, we have Winter Power, who is absolutely electric on the track. Dragon Symbol, the unlucky horse this year. Arecibo, where does it lie here, Mickey? Are you with or against the Yanks?
Actually, which is surprising for a sprint race of this quality, there's only 3 favourites in the last 10 years. And that was Batash. He won it the last 2 years. 3-year-olds haven't won it since 2010, 2011. And the 7 3-year-olds in the race this year, and there's 1 2-year-old. The favourite is a 3-year-old, the second favourite is a 3-year-old, and the third favourite is a 3-year-old. So if they haven't won it in 10 years, we'll get rid of them. So
yeah, but the Yank brought a tank.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Did you see the race that it ran in Saratoga? It ran great for 4 furlongs, and then it won't get away with that tomorrow.
No.
With Winter Power up front and all of them, like Winter Power.
He's only doing race course gallops in America.
But that's only the first run since the Breeders' Cup, and I wasn't impressed with the way he finished his race that day at all. He won't get away with that tomorrow. They might call you mad, but they'll call me stone mad with my selections in this. I was looking at the 2-year-old, Chipotle, only carrying 8 stone 1, and it was won by a 2-year-old in 2007.
Native.
Correct. And this is all speed. And I think that there'd be so much speed that it could set it up for this horse that it's 40 to 1, and there are a lot of bookies paying 4 places. And the other horse that I fancy at 40 to 1 is Imarasa Anna. It's a 5-year-old. Kevin Ryan trains it. They changed tactics on it the last time in Hamilton, and it won in 57 seconds. Now, that's about the speed or the time that the race will be running in tomorrow. And I prefer to take an each way shout at 40 to 1 on one of them might be placed than going against sort of the trends. I'm sticking to what I do all the time.
Right, very interesting race. I think it's a really, really like exciting race. You know, there's going to be like Winter Power is so quick on this track. Now Golden Pal, I have a little bit of backstory with this horse. I thought he was a good thing in Royal Ascot when he came over as a 2-year-old. I backed him. He drifted like a barge. I think he went out to 12 to 1 on the day. I had a big each way bet on him. They hit the furlong pole, and I was ringing my friend to tell him I hit the touch. And all of a sudden, the Learjet came out of nowhere and done me on the line. I couldn't believe he lost. I really couldn't believe he lost. But the ground changed from that day. But mark my words, this is a very, very good horse. But many, as you said, many very good horses have come into this race and got beat. It's just that kind of a race. It's marginals, but I'm going for Golden Pal. When you hear Wesley Ward saying this is the best, possibly the best horse I've ever trained, well, if that's right, Wesley, he will be the Yank will have brought a tank and he'll blow them away. Because the way he's talking about this horse, it's that he's never had the likes of him. Now, I know the way in America, Wesley, he'd be running them horses. They're only prep runs. They're only tuning them up out there. He'll come here. I think he'll ping the lids. He'll travel hopefully just somewhere with the Winter Power. And hopefully, I don't know. I just think he's a very good horse. Hopefully they don't go too hard, which can always happen. It just happens. But I think...
believe all the Yanks tell you. The Yanks just blow it out of proportion. If Wesley Ward had a Clydesdale going to the races, he'd make it into a great sprinter. The Yanks talk like that. Everything is good. Everything is better. Everything is bigger with him.
Yeah, but this horse has something about him. I'm telling you. I really like. Just the day on the ground when he got bet on the soft ground, I was so sick. But there was only one winner everywhere. Bar he just didn't go home. Where this really quick 5, quick ground, it's going to suit him. It really is, and I think he's going to be hard to beat. Albeit that he'll have to everything to go right. He is drawn in stall 1, Mickey. Is that a disadvantage? It could be. Well,
not really. There's so much pace. Everything will be towed into the race as suitable.
yeah,
There's pace all over it. Fairly well spread out.
Yeah, like I think if you're in front of Winter Power, you're going too quick. Right,
Yeah,
we'll move on. It's it. Let's just give a quick mention. So to Dragon Symbol, very unlucky. Can he do it? Possibly can. Like this kind of flat track, good ground. It was good this off the last day he got bet in Goodwood. Back on a quicker surface. He ran a massive race in the July Cup. He's definitely a player, Dragon Symbol.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Right, let's move on. So from the Nunthorpe, and we move on to a maiden, funny enough, from the tops to the beginnings. A 7 furlong maiden, we have Roger Varian and David Egan have a well back so far. How reliable the markets are now, who knows? But anyway, Broad Spare, we have Johnny Gosden's second favourite, Frankie Dettori. Mickey D, where does it lie here?
I thought Capital Theory from Merrick Johnson boasted the best bit of form. It was third in a Goodwood maiden, won by Imperial Fighter, and that was second on Wednesday in the Combe Stakes. So he ran well enough that day. He was unfancied. He went off at 22-1 that day. So there has to be improvement in him. So I'd be on Capital Theory.
Right, very interesting. It's not a race I know a lot about. Obviously, none of us do. I'm just going to bypass it. I've nothing for it. There's a lot of money for the Varian horse. Could be interesting, but I haven't seen any of them running in their maidens. So I'm just going to leave it by. I'll sit out and hope Mickey gets the winner. Right, we move on to the 440. This is a really, really interesting fillies handicap, and I am very familiar with a lot of runners in this race. Achilles is a filly on the up by Safani, a really, really good winner for us the last twice. We had a 5 points win on her on the service. We had a 3 points win on her the last day. She bolted up both times. She's a big improver. Are you with her at the head of the market, or is there something else lurking in there, like maybe a declared interest? That is definitely a horse to watch as well.
Declared interest off top weight is worth the nibble. I have written down here. It won a premium fillies handicap off 90. It only went up £5, and it ran behind Dreamloper in a Group 3 since. And I thought that maybe might be worth a few pounds each way. I have no idea what price it is. So
it's 10-1 there now. Definitely interesting. I liked it. I thought it was a good winner in Newbury when it won that handicap off top weight. I thought it was a dominant winner. And then it came out in a really hot race. But Achilles has been a very, very good horse to us on the service. She really has. Quicker ground, I'm not so sure, but she's definitely an improver. She's the right favourite, and she has won very snug the last twice. Dermot Weld brings over one that's interesting as well, but do you know what? I might be wrong here, but as good as Achilles was to us, I'm worried about the forecast quicker ground because she was so good with a little bit of juice in it. I'm going to go each way, declared interest. So really think it's definitely it is an interesting runner. Right, let's move on, Mickey, to the 510, the Sky Bet Mile handicap. This is a very, very hard race, wide open. We have Royal Fleet at the top of the betting. Where is it lying here for you, Mickey?
8 years this race is going, and 2 favourites have won. And interestingly, all drawn 5 or less, bar one, and that was a 33-1 shot. So the draw seems to be important, 5 or less. I thought, well, Royal Fleet won off 93 in Newmarket. It's up £7. You always have to look at Andrew Balding and Oisin Murphy. That's Dejame Paso. That's one in York off 84 at 9 furlongs. So it'll definitely be finishing off fast. It's up £7, so that'll have a chance. But I thought, interestingly, Rifleman for Coolmore and John Gosden. It was third in York in May. And then it was second in Newmarket to Accidental Agent in a strong handicap. And it's the third run back this year, which I always sort of fancy. And it's only its 7th lifetime start. So it looks like it has been sort of laid out for this.
Yeah, I thought he was very interesting. He actually owes Ryan Moore a bit of good fortune because he threw him off on the up the running. Do you remember in Sandown? Now they have blinkered him since, but then he came to York the last day and he did a whole load of bollocks and all over the track. But or not the last day, the previous run. Then he ran a Newmarket and he was much better in behind Accidental Agent. He's definitely well handicapped, there's no doubt about it, but I worry there's a big crowd in York there this week. I worry if this horse hit the front, he might do something silly. He's definitely of interest, and I'm going to give the Hughie Morrison horse a shout out here. Is it Marasabet? However you pronounce it. It's been rock solid. It was just touched off in Ascot the last day by a very short margin. David Egan's in the saddle. I'm going to go each way. It's a nice price. It's around the 11 to 1. Might get 12s. It's got 8 stone 3. It's got a good draw in stall 5. Could be interesting. Definitely a horse not done improving. Not many people seem to be going from or mentioning them, but I just think Hughie Morrison as well has had a good couple of weeks. So it could be very interesting. So we'll move on then, Mickey D, and we'll get through Saturday's card. We kick off with a Group 3, and we have a really, really interesting horse here at the head of the betting. Real World. What are you thinking? Is he the real deal, Mickey, or will he be turned over?
Group 3, only 3 favourites in the last 10 years, but all at the top of the market. The 10 to 1 has been the biggest price in the last 10 years. Either a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old has won 9 out of the last 10. David O'Meara's won 3, Michael Stout 2, Appleby 2. There's only 7 declared. Lord Glitters won it in 2018 off 9 stone 5, but he's carrying 9 stone 12 now, so it'll be difficult for him. He's carrying a penalty. Real World, he ticks all the boxes. You have only, well, that, you know, that 3-year-old El Drama, you know, 3-year-old has won it. So Real World was very impressive in Royal Ascot, and then he beat Durham, who's a horse that Martin Hurley had spoken highly of, that was 7th in the Fringe Derby, and that won impressively enough the last day. So as I say, that was a group horse lurking in a handicap. So well, he has a chance now to prove that, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a very interesting horse on good ground as well. He seemed to do pretty well with the 1.25 miles in Newbury. He kind of got held up. Martin gave his horse a brilliant ride that day. He just held in young Marco for a stride or two, but then this horse cut loose. He got out and cut loose. He's going to be hard to beat. I like him. I think My Auburn, or is it My Auburn, however you pronounce it? Auburn. My Auburn has some really, really good fun. Like, it's been running in the top quality Group 1s and stuff. So that's definitely interesting, a 3 to 1. Brunch coming from the handicap routes, but he got his, I think it was a listed win he got the last day, was it? In Pontefract. He'll have to step up, but I always get the feeling that this Brunch is a nice horse. He's stepping up to 1.25 miles now, so that is a bit interesting, but I think Real World is definitely, look, on his 2 runs this year, there's no doubt about it, he's the horse to beat. With a couple of interesting challengers, albeit probably the Haggis horse being the strongest of them. Right, we'll move on, so pretty lively, to another tricky staying handicap. But I have a strong fancy here. Mickey, where does it lie for you? We have at the head of the market. Is it Doshan for William Haggis and Tom Marquand?
Doshan, yeah. One favourite in the last 10 years. Charlie Appleby has won 2 and Haggis has won 2. 4 horses have been over 9 stone and 6 under. There's 2 horses here that ran in the King George Handicap in Ascot, and they were 8th and 9th. Tashkent came out the next time, and I think we were on it at 12 when it won, and it won it way shorter. It ran in since as a favourite in soft ground in Pontefract, and there was nothing closing that day. Better ground will suit him. But the horse that I like sort in it is Marshall Plan, John Gosden's. They got a hard ride the last day in Newcastle. I was on at 7-2 and went off 6-4 favourite. I thought it was in Clover. And fuck me, the Chelsea gave it an awful bad ride. So James Doyle is on it tomorrow.
Yeah, interesting.
So the step up and trip to a mile 6, I think, will suit Marshall Plan. He only went up £2 for that. He was given £4 to Tashcan in the King George Edward Handicap, and he's getting £1 now. So that's the one I like as an each way bet tomorrow in that race.
I like Summers Knight. He's a horse I followed really, really closely. He won a kind of it wasn't a great race. He won the last day, to be honest. But he won it. He done it well, and he is a big improver. And we had him each way when he was behind Tashcan in Ting at a big price. He was 16-1. And I thought that day he ran really well, but he was still showing signs of immaturity. And I think he's still improving. I think he'll run a big race, and I hope he does. He's a nice price around the 9-1 mark. So Summers Night, look, it's a tricky race. You know, these handicaps in York, they're mind-boggling at times. But anyway, you're always come close to going. It's funny, you can be so right in these races, or you can be a million miles wrong. But I think this horse is on the improve. And he might shorten up tomorrow or Saturday in the betting. Right, we're going to move on then to the 3 o'clock on Saturday, the Sky Bet City of York Stakes. And this is over 7 furlongs, a Group 2. We have Space Blues, the well-backed at the head of the market, Space Blues. And we have Primo Baccio, second at 9-4, Safe Fige at 7-1. Mickey D, Space Blues, getting everything's right for him. And he had a really nice return run. I know he got a little tired late on, but he did look like he was, in good hearts with himself.
Yeah, he's the danger to my selection. 5 favourites are giant favourites in the last 10 years. 5 of the last 6 runnings of this has been won by a 3-year-old. And there's 2 3-year-olds in this year, and one of them is Primo Baccio. For Ed Walker, is rated 112. It only won 1 of 4 races as a 2-year-old, and its first run this year, it was 4th behind Alcohol Free in Group 3 in Newbury. It was only a short head behind it, and there was a difference of £26 in the ratings at the time. It was only raced like in the 80s. It went up then to win over 100. So it beat Creative Flair in a listed race in York impressively, so it has course for him. It was withdrawn in Ascot. The ground was too heavy. Then it ran 5th in the Falmouth, the one that Snow Lantern won, and there was a bit of barge. And remember that was going on, sort of people were saying it was a bit unlucky. And I think that with the trends that the 3-year-olds has won us so many in the last few years, I thought that might be the one, and Space Blues to chase her home.
Yeah, definitely interesting, Primo Baccio. She was unlucky in France the last day, I thought. I think you can draw a line through a run in France. I really do. I think it was a messy enough race for her. It wasn't a messy enough race overall, but it was for her. And I think she's going to run a big race, I think, under these conditions. She will. Space Blues well. Now, I'm going to go against the curve and against the general perception here, and I might be wrong. But I think Sir Busker coming back to 7 furlongs is interesting. I really think he's interesting because he always.
He's a great one the last day.
Yeah, and he had a big he had a big 2 out to a furlong pole the last day. They went a really, really strong pace in that race, and his best work was the 2 pole to the 1 pole, and then he just didn't see it out. Now it was a murderous gallop, but I just think he's interesting because, like, he has shown he's been rock solid. And the last time he ran over 7 furlongs, where was it, Mickey? It was in Newmarket, and you know who just touched him off? Mucatel just touched him off. The horse that bolted up again there in that Newmarket race the last time. So this horse is interesting, and just at the price, he's as big as 10-1, I think. He was actually as big as 14s. He's into 10s. I'm going to go a point each way. on Sir Busker. Now, I do think Primo Baccio was very unlucky in France, and she'll probably show a really a different run, I think, on this ground. And Space Blues, of course, to say he's the best 7 furlong horse around. Well, interesting. Right, let's move on to the big one, Mickey, the York Ebor. Right, have you solved the puzzle? You got none other than Johnny Murtagh gambled here. We got a big gamble going on. Sonny Boy listening, a horse you are familiar with, a horse you have tipped up as a winner. Is Johnny Murtagh going to stroll into town and leave with the big one?
Yeah, the Ebor, it's 300,000 for the winner. There's 90,000 for second. There's 50 for third, and there's 25,000 for fourth. So they'll be all running with the handbrake off, which, that's everyone will have a chance. There's 3 Irish winners in the last 10 years. Only 1 4-year-old, 5 6-year-olds, and 3 5-year-olds have won it. And I had written down 9 out of the last 10 had been over 9 stone, but every horse in the field is over 9 stone this time. There's 2 horses I had backed. I backed Sonny Boy Listen at 20 to 1 for this a couple of weeks ago.
You can cash
he finished
out.
up last year, rated 112. He's raced 112 in Ireland, and he's raced 108 in England. So he was targeted for this race, I think, all year. Johnny Murtagh won this before in 2015 with Mutual Regard, a 20 to 1 horse. So he was third to Broome in a listed race in Naas. Then he was third to Japan and Trushan in the Group 3 in Chester. And then he won snugly in Tipperary, in Limerick, the Martin Maloney Cup. He went to get racecourse experience in York when he was 6th to one of my stable stars, Hookham, in a Group 3. So he wasn't, the handbrake was sort of half on that day. So course and distance, he was 20s. I think he's now 8th. Fujira Prince was third in that race in York, but they ran off level weights that day, and Sonny Boy List was getting £6 now. The other one that I looked at with a chance that has been laid out for the race is Humanitarian for John Gosden, 5-year-old. It ran only once last year and it's won over 1.5 miles off 102 in Newbury. It goes well fresh. It's only £4 higher. It has been targeted for the race, and James Doyle is in the saddle. So they were the 2 I picked. I can't see Mount Leinster win it. It's a 7-year-old. It hasn't ran in over a year. I don't think it will have the pace. So they were my 2 against the field. So I'm on Sonny Boy Listen at 20s already. I've each way on him. So
I like, well, the word is like. He's a likeable horse, Shan Rowe. But I don't know if he's good enough. But he's definitely a really solid horse. And he's been so good. He's been brilliant over hurdles, well, on the flat. And he's coming in here off the back of a win. Now, he's got a good hike for it. But he beat a solid horse, Pondus, that used to be trained, I think it was by Franshaw in England. It's now with Joseph O'Brien. And I think this horse is a lively player. And Robbie Colgan going over, I'd like to see him winning it. I really think... 7-year-old, is he good enough? I don't know, but there's a lot of questions at the top of the market. Hamish, that's been well backed, that's only ran once in the last couple of years. I think last year anyway. When was it? In 20. It's only ran once in 20. We haven't seen it before that since October 19. Definitely interesting profiles, but I think this horse is rock solid. Is rock solid good enough to win this? I don't know, but I definitely think he's worth an each way. 12 to 1, and Robbie Colgan, a brilliant jockey, coming back from the jumps onto the flat and having a good time of it as well. So that's my tip. I might be lacking the class of the others, but I think the horse definitely could be solid enough to run a big race. Right, we're going to move on to the 410, and a filly that heads the market here, who I really like. We were just touched off in Newbury the other day at a big price. At the Girl, 5 furlongs. A quick 5 furlongs here is really going to suit this filly. And I think she'll take all the beating. Booney, second favourite for Kevin Ryan, whose stable's on fire. What do you think here, Mickey? Where does it lie? Ballet Steps as well was a nice winner on debut, but you get the feeling Danny Tudhope had the choice.
Yeah, I was thinking you'd be picking at a Gerald, so I went on Booney. It was third in the Windsor Castle to Chipotle, and then it was third to Armour in the Mulcombe at Goodwood. It has good form there. It's down in class from the group races to listed. Kevin Ryan targets the York meeting, and I was happy to go with that one, Booney.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting, and Kevin is flying. Thunder Love could be interesting as well. It had 2 wins on the all-weather, and it was impressive the last time it won. But I just think At the Girl here is going to take some catching. Danny Tudhope the last day in Newbury, the last kind of 50 yards, she just started lugging to her right, and he hit her with the left hand, and then she came right over, and it just cost him the race. I think this track is really going to suit her. She'll take some catching. I really do. Now, she pinged the lids really good in Newbury, so I hope she can do the same here. And I think she's probably the one to beat, maybe. But she's not home and hose by any means. Right. We'll move on then to a horse that we had a big touch off the last day, Migration. We had him as a massive 5 points win selection when he won in Goodwood. Very different ground to contend with. That was very soft, but this horse has won on quick ground as well. Really interesting horse. But there is another very interesting horse here as well. And I'm going to have to pronounce him. There's Sir Michael Stouthart. Warren, yeah. This horse, so like 2 horses meeting.
You always up the last day.
2 progressive horses clashing. They really are. And then the Mark Johnson horse as well was a nice winner the last day. It's interesting, but I'm going to stick with Migration. I can't desert him now. He came like he was slingshotted into the race the last furlong and a half the last day. Mile and a quarter on quick ground here. He might be better on it. He's won on quick ground before. Maybe he just won in spite of the ground the last day. Because he moves like a real. If you watch Migration, Mickey, he gallops like a real good ground horse. He's a bit big and awkward, but he doesn't bend the knee. He flicks out the toe everywhere. So I think maybe, look, Migration is definitely a group horse. There's no doubt about it. Can he show it tomorrow under these circumstances?
Reminds me on the dance floor. Flick out the toe.
Stepping out, Mary might find author.
Migration was mighty impressive, and it was very unlucky the time before. But the ground is so much different. Like, that's the thing. It's up 8 pounds. 3 of the last 5 winners of this were 3-year-olds. Migration is a 5-year-old, isn't it? I was more interested in Warren. He's lower in the handicap. He's very impressive the last time. So Warren would do for me.
Yeah, he's interesting. The 2 of them are so interesting. But I'm not worried, Mickey, when I think about it. The more I think of Migration, all his form was on good ground. He just ran him the last day because he had him there. He was ready and the ground was soft. So the ground doesn't worry me. He did get a nice little hike in the weights, and he has to give his tone to Warren. But I think Migration could be a really good horse. If you look at him, he's a big, late developing, immature type. And I know he had a lot of time off, but I'd say that's what benefited him. Anything else lurking there? Maybe
Wasn't he pulled out of a race? Wasn't he pulled out of a race there before he won that time?
It was too quick, but it was that was really quick ground. Tomorrow it's given just on the quick side, is it? It's not good to firm. It's on the quick
side of good, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't call it good to firm, did they? They called it good.
Well, that's to keep everyone happy, I suppose. But the times shown there today were the times that were for those races, particularly today, I thought were sort of good to firm.
Yeah, it's interesting. But he has won on good to firm, and he has won on good. But look, I'm sure tomorrow the ground will be just nice. Surely there might be an odd shower over there, is there?
Did you hear Manuzier's interview after his horse ran today? He said that the ground was quicker than the thought, but to safe ground, like.
Yeah.
But that's what beat the horse. That Huey cut off and said that.
You could see her. She come out with the stalls, and the first fucking 2 furlongs, she was all she was all up in the air. Definitely. Yeah, look, maybe if he's worried about the ground, he'll probably pull him out. But I think he's a very interesting horse going forward and definitely want to keep on side. Right, I have the winner of the 520. Have you, Mickey? Black Rod at the top of the betting, 4-1. Blind Beggar, 9-2. Where does it lie here? We close out the card with an apprentice handicap sprint over the Flying 5.
The top weight again. At Talis Bay, to second to Winter Power in a listed race over the course and distance, and Urban Beat, Johnny Murtagh's horse, was third. I was on for each way bet that day, and that's the one I picked.
We'll leave it there because that's the winner. We're on the same page, so I think it's a really nice horse. I think forget about Sandown the last day. It just got a little bit too quick on the front end. I think back here at this track, good young jockey on board, trained by Marco Botti. I think it's a real improver, and hopefully he can bounce right back and get the win. Now, there is a couple of interesting ones there as well, but I think this horse might scale in the sprints over time. I think he might end up a pretty good one in the end. He's only a young horse, so he has it all. And I know they're all.
That's a solid run there.
Yeah, the run behind Winter Power was very, very good. But I just think it's a horse that definitely will end up a really good sprinter, and a 6-1 is a cracking each way bet. Right. Shovel it on and bring the wheelbarrow. I hope you enjoyed our preview of days 2 and 3, and I hope you were on the winners on day 1. As always, Mickey D, thanks for joining us, and thanks for giving your statistical analysis.
No bother.
Hey, the time for cotton is over. Let's hope for a good finish over the next couple of days, and hopefully we touched on a few winners for you.
Bash the bookies.
Bash the bookies. Mickey D, as always, you're a gent, the bookie basher from out west.